everyone, welcome back. My name's Diana. This is my channel Bookish Di, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. I am doing the Anti-TBR Tag. This was initially created by Nicole from Nicole and Her Books, and I'll link the original down below. And I swear to God, as soon as I start talking, the little void wants to come interrupt me. But anyway, Rachel over at Kalanati had recently done this tag, and she had done kind of an open invite for whoever wanted to do this tag to do it. And I had been thinking about this for a while, and so I just decided to do it. So caveat before I get started, please do not take me saying my disinterest in reading these books, if they're some of your favorite or by your favorite authors, as a personal insult. I am not judging you, except in the case of one author who I do think, like, if you're continuing to read her books, is really telling, and I think you all will know who that is. But anyway, please do not take these as personal attacks. These are all just my opinions. And with that being said, let's get started. So the first question is a popular book that everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. And so for me, this would be Mistborn, and just the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. And so there are two reasons for this. The first is I read a Sanderson book several years ago. It, in my opinion, was thoroughly mediocre. There was nothing about the writing style that wowed me. I did not think the female characters were particularly well developed. Like I said, I just was super underwhelmed for all the hype that Sanderson gets. And I'm gonna be honest, like, my standard for wanting to read fantasy series by straight white dudes is very, very high at this point. And yeah, I was not impressed. And so that's the first reason. And then the second reason, and this is very personal to me, is that I try not to read or financially support authors who I either know or strongly suspect tithe to the Mormon Church. And this is just because I do not forgive nor forget the role that the Mormon Church played in Prop 8 and how it not only affected me and my family, but other queer folks throughout the state of California. And given that Sanderson has on his website why I think Mormonism is correct, and talking about the benefits that he thinks he got from his mission trip, I strongly suspect he tithes, and I have no interest in supporting someone who supports an institution that vehemently hates me and my family. So I am not planning on ever reading Sanderson. Please do not ask me to read Sanderson. If you want to read Sanderson, totally fine. That is my stance. So the second question is a classic book or author you have no interest in reading. So there are two answers for this. The first is just kind of like classic American author that I have no interest in reading, and that's Ernest Hemingway. I was forced to read The Sun Also Rises in high school literature, and I absolutely hated it. And I just have no interest in ever reading Hemingway ever again. And then the second author is more of like a classic science fiction author, and that's Robert Heinlein. I'm gonna be honest, I have no real interest in reading the golden age of science fiction. And I've heard just very mixed things. Like, from people who I trust, I've heard that I would not like Heinlein. And I don't feel the need to. We are living in a fantastic age of science fiction and fantasy right now. And like, there's just no way I'm going to be reading all of what's being published now. And I just, like I said, I don't feel the urge to go back and read Heinlein. Luke, say hi. He's like, why do you do this to me, mother? So the third question is an author whose books you have no interest in reading, and for me, that is Sarah J. Maas. She, I know, is very popular on BookTube, for Throne of Glass, Court of Thorn and Roses. I think when A Throne of Glass came out, I had just graduated from college, and so it was a little bit it was after like for me when I was really reading YA, and it didn't sound super interesting to me. And then just from everything I've heard, I know, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't like these books anyway. And so I'm just not interested in reading it. Don't really feel the urge to read it. So yeah, if you like Sarah J. Maas, that's fine. It's just, I'm fairly certain it's not for me, and I don't feel the urge to torment myself by reading something I'm pretty sure I won't like. So as like a sub-question to question 3 is a problematic author you have no interest in reading. And so this is like a 4-part answer. So the first is, and this is the author that I had alluded to at the start of this video, is J.K. Rowling. I have no interest in reading her books, her new books. I'm going to be honest, given her behavior, she's kind of burned the Harry Potter books for me. Like, I was fond of them and I enjoyed them growing up, but I haven't reread them in a long time, and given everything, it's just, I don't want to. I would rather just have the fondish memories that I do, and her mystery series are also just like mediocre. I don't know. I don't have interest in reading any of her new books. And then other authors that are on this list for me right now, Mackenzie Lee. So I've actually read Gentleman's Guide to Virtue and Vice. Yeah, that's the name. And I did not understand why everyone was raving about it. I thought the main character, Monty, was awful to his family and friends. I did not, like, it was very much me thinking, why are people going crazy over this bisexual white dude? And I had kind of been maybe checking out the sequel to that book because I knew it was going to have a canon ace female character. And then there was her super transphobic book, A Madness of Tulips, that ended up getting canceled just because there was apparently no salvaging the book from its premise. And then last year in the pandemic, when she was defacing books that she was signing that weren't even her books, and her reaction when she was being called out on that was just really gross, and it just really made me upset that she was still getting work from she was still getting IP work. And yeah, I'm never touching her books again. And then 2 other authors that have just kind of been added to the list recently are Scott Lynch and Elizabeth Bear. And this is for the same incident. So last summer, when the science fiction fantasy community was kind of airing its dirty laundry, talking about, you know, sex pests and sexual harassment and sexual assault in the community, author Alexandra Rowland had published a piece talking about how Scott Lynch had essentially groomed them. Like, they were both adults, but there was very much an unequal distribution of power, and lied to them about his relationship with Elizabeth Bear, who was his wife. And it was just, it was skin crawling. It was just really gross. And Scott Lynch responded super poorly. He basically was like, how dare you, I'm going to sue you. And it just made me not want to touch any of his books. I know people really love his books, but I just, like I said, my bar right now for fantasy written by white men is very high, and oh boy. And then Elizabeth Bear also reacted very poorly to that. She was basically armchair diagnosing Alexandra Rowland, which is very gross behavior. And then I had also kind of been on the fence with her anyway for a while because I had read some of her books, enjoyed them, but Care and Memory, I was kind of like, there was stuff about that just kind of bothered me. And then I found out her role in Race Fail over a decade ago, and the fact that she never apologized for it. If you don't know what that is, please check the fan lore entry, which I'll link below. Anyway, and so her reaction to that, and her basically saying there was no unequal power between me and Scott and Alexandra Rowland, despite the fact that, you know, they're industry veterans who are bestseller. Anyway, the entire situation left a very gross taste in my mouth, and I've just decided never to touch their books again. So the 4th question is an author who you've read a couple of books from and decided they weren't for you. And my answer to this is Gail Carriger. Anyway, I have actually, so I read her first series, the Soulless books, almost 10 years ago now, I think. Yeah, almost 10 years ago. And I enjoyed the first one, but as the series went on, I liked them less and less. I really didn't like the romance. I thought the writing was getting like unbearably twee. And I finished the series. I was just like, you know what, not for me. And then I had I was in a book club, and one of the selections was the first book in her YA series, which is set in the same world. And I read it and just really enforced that this was just not an author for me. I don't particularly gel with her writing. It's not my cup of tea. And so I just decided it's not worth it for me to read any more of her books, just because experience has shown me that we aren't compatible. It's not a good fit. So the fifth question is a genre you have no interest in, or a genre you try to get into and didn't enjoy. And for me, that's grimdark. I don't like my fantasy really, really grim. I'm trying to think. I think the closest I've gotten to grimdark was Alex Marshall's book, A Crown of Cold Silver. I think that's the book. Anyway, and it's not really for me. I like more hopeful stuff, and I have a very low tolerance for things like sexual violence, and yeah, I don't like grimdark. It's not my thing. I don't read it. I don't think I would enjoy a lot of the works in there, so I'm just not dealing with it. So the sixth question is a book that you bought but will never read. And for me, that is going to be a Wake of Vultures by Lila Bowen, aka Delilah S. Dawson. So I had bought this book as an ebook several years ago because it was being talked about as like this really interesting fantasy western with a Black, Indigenous, non-binary main character, and I thought that sounded really interesting. And I haven't, like, it had been on my TBR for a while, and then I read Lila Dawson's Black Spire, and whew, not a good book. It's a whole mess. I cannot adequately explain how badly she wrote a Black female character, and I'm just gonna link a podcast discussion from it from Book Wars Pod, because they, the hosts as well as some Black Star Wars fans kind of go into a lot of the problems with that book, and it really soured me on Dawson's writing and actually wanting to read her original stuff. So she's kind of become an author who is, again, I'm not gonna read. And yeah, I need to find a way to delete that book from my e-reader. So the seventh question is a series you have no interest in reading, or a series that you started and DNFed. And for me, this is the Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin. So I had read the first 3 books in the series, and I just kind of taken a break initially because I wanted to see when Winds of Winter was being released, and they're, very long books. And then a series of events with George R.R. Martin kind of happened, and that really just soured me on him as a writer and him as a person. So the first was the Hugo Losers debacle at Dublin Worldcon in 2019. And then the main kicker for me was sitting through 3.5 hours of him eulogizing dead fascists at the 2020 Hugo Awards. And yeah, I'm never going to finish those books. Like, if you want to finish them, that's fine. I'm done with him as an author. And the last question, number 8, is a new release that you have no interest in. And for me, this is The Seat Filler by Soraya Wilson. This is a contemporary romance, and it is a super creepy self-insert pro-pubbed Adam Driver RPF fic. Like, to the point, like, it is, the author, like, thanks his parents in the acknowledgements, and it's really creepy because she basically just cribs everything from Adam Driver's life to put into her main character, and it's just really gross and really creepy. And yeah, I don't want to read it. I saw it featured on like BuzzFeed's new releases to be excited about. I'm just like, I think I'll pass. Yeah, not great. Yeah. Anyway, so that is my anti-TBR. If there are any books that are on my anti-TBR that kind of resonate with you, or if you have different opinions on like what you would put for those questions, please let me know in the comments. If you're rude to me, I will delete them. If you're rude to other people, I will also delete them. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe, and I will talk with you later. Bye.